2 rounds left in the 2025 iRacing Indy NXT qualifying series presented by Thrustmaster, and we have made our way to the West Coast and to the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca for the final road course race of 2025. These Indy NXT machines with their 450-odd horsepower will roll themselves out for what will be a 28-lap race, and we will probably see drivers lock themselves in for next year's INDYCAR iRacing Thrustmaster Pro Series. Here's a look at the schedule. Unfortunately, we did not get a chance to catch up with you last week due to some unfortunate technical issues. However, we are delighted to be back with you here on the iRacing Esports Network for the final of our road course races. Next time out, we'll once again go short course racing at the Iowa Speedway. 90 laps should be a fast, frenetic sweeper to see which teams and drivers end up qualifying their way into next year's series, which of course begins on January the 8th. Let's talk points though. And this does now factor in the one drop round that the drivers are allotted in this championship. The top 20-odd drivers starting to look relatively comfortable. The top 10 or so are all but locked in. Stay out of trouble and they will find themselves in a very good position. It's the likes of Kwame Scott, Ricardo Rico, Jacob Oster, and those behind that are on the bubble, on the outside, looking in potentially if things don't go their way, while Mateo Kuzner, Mitchell Welker, Manuel Kubo Torres, and George Griffiths, those are the next drivers just outside of the top 20. And look how close the margins are. Just shy of 100 points, covering 21st through 27th position or so. This next round of the championship, the final opportunity for road course aces to show their strength. Well, qualifying well and truly underway, and we have just 2 splits of competition, and so that means for those new to the world of iRacing, fewer number of drivers have showed up, and we divide the field based on their iRating, which is a relative skill measure that iRacing uses, and from there our grids are made up. Championship points are determined based on the strength of field, which is also determined from that iRating, and off to the races we go. Currently 5 thousandths, make that 25 thousandths of a second between Vasilios Belitsiotis and Ricardo Rico. Sotomuto slides into then third, with then 10th covering the top 4. Dan Amor in that Kawanda Esports 13. He's second in the championship points, effectively locked in, as is Jaden Munoz. That's just pipped him to the outside of row number 2. Aiden Young dives down into the Andretti hairpin turn 2 of the lap, but he only slid himself just inside of the top 20. Here's Ricardo Rico climbing up into the corkscrew. Plunge your way down effectively 6 odd stories and then through a rainy curve. So much commitment required at this part of the track. It's just shy of 4 minutes, or just over 4 minutes, I should say, left to go in the qualifying session. Josh Thompson jumps up to second momentarily, but it's Peter Berryman, the Apex Racing team driver, with a second and final qualifying attempt that goes to provisional pole. Ricardo Rico storms to the top, a 10.5 to the good. Jordan Johnson in the Solpec Precision Racing machine, he runs his way to the line. We see any improvement from him. Driver pulling double duty, also racing this weekend in the IMSA Esports Global Championship. He sits 30th in points. He needs to find some strength. It was not the lap. His teammate, Emil Bernstorff, raced Formula cars on the open wheel ladder in Europe. He only jumps to 16th spot. Bernstorff 38th in points. Lots of work to do. We have 2 more drivers left to run in this qualifying session, and they have waited. Alexander Spets, watch him dive down on his warm-up lap, and also Josh Chin in the Powerslide Motorsports 24. Outside of that, effectively everyone else is scratched from qualifying. I do see Emil Bernstorff on his second and final attempt. Mateo as well. Let's ride with the Swede. Alexander Spets, 8th in points for a lap here at the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, up and over the crest of turn 1, and then open up the entry hard on the brakes into turn 2. He Andretti hairpin. Use that curb, lean on it to minimize the distance into turn 3 as you straight line yourself into the very slight tap of the brakes. And see how much curb you're trying to use both on the exit of turn 3, on the entry of turn 4 as you commit and flick the car in. Now steel yourself, you're about to begin the climb. Tight to the apex of turn 5, and this is where that commitment, that bravery will start to be rewarded. The scariest corner on the track, a blind entry into turn 6, a curve on the inside that will eat the car up. Nicely navigated by Spets. Over the crest, blind now into the corkscrew. Spot your turn-in spot to the downhill from the trees on the left-hand side of the track. Roll out through rainy curve. And now, just 2 more corners, don't make a mistake. Hardly a flick of the brake there through the penultimate corner. And then down to second gear. A little bit of oversteer as he goes all 4 wheels to the right side of the white line, but you get away with that here on iRacing. A 109, make that a 110.089, and a driver that we're used to seeing at the front of the field, only 17th. It did look like a relatively tidy lap, all things considered. However, he has a second chance at it. We're watching him now from the off-board shot. Working his way through. Should be able to finish this lap, as I think will Adam Blocker. So there's 2 drivers potentially still with a chance to improve. Adam Blocker, who recently announced that he is joining Chip Ganassi Racing as a Indy NXT race engineer. So getting some experience in the cars that he will be working on in the real world in 2026. Spets has looked like he's putting together a tidy run, and it's clear that Drago Racing team have brought speed. Did he just need to burn off some more fuel, warm up those Firestone tires? Let's find out of the final corner. Runs to the line, 109.528, the benchmark from his teammate. And while he does improve, it's only to 9th, just about cracks the top 10. Meanwhile, Adam Blocker has broken the timing beam. No improvement from the Powerslide Motorsports driver. And the seconds will tick away. We are moments away from 28 laps, the final of our road course rounds. Started on the streets of Long Beach, then raced up in Portland before a trip to Indianapolis, and then the trip westwards once again to the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Interesting that we've been on a 3-race West Coast swing, effectively, across the 4 of our road course rounds. So Ricardo Rico inside of the Apex Racing team driver of Peter Berryman on that front row. They have Jaden Munoz, the points leader, and a whole handful of drivers surely locked into the points at the front. Dan Amor amongst them, who's won a couple of these road course races. Sota Muto, the Williams Sim Racing driver, is alongside of Bosch Thompson, a winner, of course, in that stop-and-start race at the Texas Motor Speedway. Alessandro Pico, Vasilius Beliziotis, the pair of Williams Sim Racing drivers qualifying better than they did at the racing capital of the world, while Alexander Spets and Mateo Kuzner make up the rest of the top 10. Nicholas Mateo, Matt Caruana, 11th and 12th positions. Might be Caruana's final opportunity to get some points on the board. He's in front of Emil Bernsdorf and Matt Emery. Esteban Rodriguez in the first of the Nexus esports machines has got Pablo Espez, the Spaniard, alongside on row 8. Aiden Young and Manu Kubo Torres find themselves split by just over a 1/10 of a second on row number 9, while Rafael Leon and Nico Uzbicki are sharing row 10. Jordan Johnson, Adam Blocker, about half a 1/10 of a second between the 2 of them, while Nathan Moore and Mitchell Welker 23rd and 24th. Mitch Welker, one of those drivers who sneaks into top split for the first time this season alongside of Josh Griffiths, while Tamas Shimon rolls from 26th. Alexander Van der Sant and Will Weiser are rolling on row 14, while Rashad Craig, Josh Chin, top 30. First driver with no time on the board as well is Josh Chin. So as mentioned, a couple of drivers making their first top split appearance in one of these road course races. And what is the weather conditions like, you may be wondering? Well, it is a cool day on the Monterey Peninsula, to say the very least. Our track temperature works out at 76 Fahrenheit, 24 degrees Celsius for the Firestone tires to deal with. Look at that wind, only 7 miles an hour. much cloud cover to speak of as well. We should be in for a rip-roar of a race. Our Junior Kanki Party in the iRacing Esports Network broadcast booth. Delighted you join us here with coverage provided by RaceSpotTV. We saw a really intriguing inaugural INDYCAR iRacing Pro Series. And of course, 12 drivers keep their championship licenses. They're the ones watching on from the sidelines, watching to see who will join them. Looking through the points as well, Cooper Webster, he's not here, but he is likely already locked in, 9th in points in this qualifying series, and he was 13th in last year's inaugural Pro Series. There's drivers like Kwame Scott, Jacob Oster, Alexander Russell, and Alan Pala. We're down in that second split. They've got to stay out of trouble and really maximize the points that they can get as well. Because just keeping an eye on the strength of field, this race, 7,500 or so, plenty of points, while that second and bottom split, just about 3,000 I rating. So probably around half the points on offer. Down through the corkscrew, moments away from getting set loose. If you're just joining us for the first round, or your first round I should say, of this INDYCAR Next Thrustmaster qualifying series, no pit stops in these Indy Next machines. 450 horsepower. They do have 150 seconds of push to pass. Not active on the first lap. Could that prove pivotal? Pace car off and away. Field left in control of Drago Racing's Ricardo Rico. Bit of a stack up behind as some drivers look for the green flag, which flies on the Monterey Peninsula. Underway for the final road course race of the iRacing Indy Next Thrustmaster qualifying series. Well, Peter Berryman looked to the inside. He's defensive, covering off Jaden Munoz, the points leader. Dan Amor tries to sweep around the outside. Meanwhile, 2x2 further down through the field, and now sweep out through turn 3. Sorted out inside of the top 8. Belixiotis, the first side-by-side driver, as they flick it right, get ready to start their climb up. Pinching tight goes one of those Drago Racing cars. Alexander Spetz has slid his way forward. His teammate Nicholas Mateo has followed as well. Meanwhile, chuck it into turn 6. A little bit of gravel kicked up, but we're through safely. All 29 cars crest over the top of the track and then dive down into the corkscrew for the first time. No one really making much headway. There's +1s, -2s. That's about it. As we head out of turn 11, power down, push to pass still not active. As we cross the line and lap 1 of 28 is complete. Ricardo Rico becomes the first driver to use that push to pass though. Trying to build his advantage at the front of that field. Jaden Munoz, this is all just some practice. Settling into what could be a championship deciding track. It will host the 8th and final round of the INDYCAR Thrustmaster Pro Series on February the 26th, which, given that it's already November the 20th, is really not that far away. On board with the Williams Sim Racing driver, Alessandro Bico. He's up to 7th after his impressive qualifying effort. Little lift, but almost pinned to the floor. Out through Rainey, down a gear. Through the penultimate corner. And enough traction in that second gear to still get the car off the corner nicely. He has got a former teammate tucked up behind him, and he goes defensive. Well, Alexander Spetz look around the outside. He put his nose alongside the right rear for the moment. Switching either way, use the burst of that push to pass down to turn 3. Meanwhile, gap at the front is up to 8-9 tenths. Puerto Rico is already, though, burned through 14 seconds of his push to pass. Peter Berryman yet to touch it. So clearly Rico wants to get out of drafting distance and hold on at the front. Corkscrew has been the site of many a moment in IndyCar history. Of course, Alex Zanardi first made the moves popular down through Rainy Curve. That's Matt Caruana, who's been on flying form in the British Formula 4 Esports Championship. Coverage of that on this iRacing Esports Network. He's up to 10th. Stole that spot away from Nicholas Matteo. And through Rainy, that is a very difficult place to get it done. 1:10.344, fastest lap punched in by your race leader, Matt Caruana. Concedes the position as Matteo lobs it back up the inside. We've got so much competitive esports action here on the iRacing Esports Network nowadays. Yes, the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series might be done and dusted. IMSA Esports Global Championship is back for round 3 this coming Sunday. We've got just one more round of the British Formula 4 Esports Championship next week. However, the World of Outlaws iRacing Pro Series just kicked off this past Monday. And more coverage to come throughout the rest of the season. A new format for that, where the drivers have to qualify their way in every single week, as compared to this qualifying series, where the drivers go through the 7 rounds, plus 1 drop week, of course, that they have at their disposal. And the field of 33 locked in after that. Top 21 is who we're looking for, assuming that no driver elects to give up their license from the cohort of 12 from the inaugural season that we will see once again. The likes of defending champion Diogo Pinto, second place Phil Kraus, and even some a little bit further down that running order who teammate to Dan Amor, Elliot Veyron, finished 12th. The final of the drivers that will qualify or will hold on to their way in to fight alongside those that will qualify in. Dan Amor, of course, won the first 2 of the road course races, Long Beach and Portland, and what a masterclass we saw from him at Portland in particular. Draft was such an important factor in that race, and he led for the entirety. Didn't go deep into the reservoir of push to pass early, absorbed the pressure of Peter Berryman, and then broke away in the closing stages. It was a very impressive drive from a young man continuing to bloom with his new team, the Kawanda Esports crew. Gap at the front's now up to 1.7 seconds, so all this push to pass, not quite 1/3 used, but Ricardo Rico is getting closer and closer. It is starting to lead to an increasingly bigger buffer. Back out of turn 4, on board in 15. Emil Bernstorff's on the push to pass, trying to hold on here. Let's listen in. Through turn 6, the most committed corner on track. In the gravel for a second. Cost Espes a whole lot of momentum. You can hear the wheels spin up as they put the power down, descending down through the corkscrew. It is a wild, visceral, physical sensation, that corner. Of course, this track in many ways made famous through not necessarily sim racing, but gaming in general. It was the first real track to be added to Gran Turismo 2 all the way back in 1999. I bet you there's some drivers in this field that weren't even born yet when Gran Turismo 2 initially launched. If I'm being honest, we are at the point where there are drivers that could be racing in this series that were born the year that iRacing was released. Our producer is a former iRacing world champion. Does that make him feel old? He's younger than me, our producer Hugo. One of the 3 initial road course world champions, of course. Gregor Hutu, Martin Kronka. And then our RaceSpot zone, Hugo Luis. Right, we have really settled into a rhythm here. Who's going to upset it? I see one driver sliding downwards, or through the penultimate corner. It's all gone wrong for Drago Racing team manager. Oh, he's still trying to get those tires under control. Big slide out of the final corner. His teammate, going on the offense, by the way. Alexander Spets is now up to 7th. Made that move on Alessandro Bico up to turn 1. This is what happened. So he's already lost the rear, and good avoidance there. I think that's from Caruana to avoid running into the side of the stricken Drago car. Maybe that was Pablo Espez, excuse me. Yeah, you can really see they're opening up that entry out of Rainy Curve down to turn 10. So much so that they're opening gravel tracks on the left side of the track. We're watching the fight for 14th position. This is the replay from, it was Aiden Young in the red and black machine. Oh, picks up a 1X off track, but that's better than an incident. Quick hands to hold on there. So more and more drivers using their push to pass now, as 8 laps complete. We're on the 9th lap of the race. 2 seconds the advantage. Ricardo Rico, 103 seconds of push to pass left. Make that 102. Behind him, Peter Berryman, 150 left. When does he go on the offense? A little bit of a wiggle of the steering as they head up the hill. Teo Kuzner in the dirty air of Caruana as gravel being kicked up on the right side of the track coming up out of turn 6. Clearly these drivers in what is a lower powered car than the INDYCAR are also, as that looks to be Alexander Van der Sant, the Powerslide Motorsports driver, now based out in Chicago. Finds himself in the wall. Fight for 7th and back has really started to pick up, by the way. Here's the replay. We saw a big incident up through there on the start of the race for the INDYCARs earlier this year. Van der Sant just getting it wrong by himself, and I think that's George Griffiths that, unfortunately, really caught up and didn't know which way to go. Jink left or fly right. On the 10th lap now, Rico's lead up to 2.5 seconds. He is cooking up something here. Now, where was he in points? 14th in points was Ricardo Rico. So this good result here probably locks him in, I would think. If he holds on at the front of the field, he will still, of course, have 18 more laps to go as he breaks that timing line. He might be one of the drivers that elects not to race out there at Iowa in a week's time. Or rather, not in a week's time. We've got an off week. We are back on December the 4th. Of course, next Thursday is Thanksgiving weekend for those based in America, so hopefully some time for those drivers to spend some quality time with friends and family and away from the sim for a little bit. Josh Thompson stuck behind Alexander Spets for the time being as Spets continues to tow his way up through the field. Thompson, who is probably the last driver in the points who can consider himself locked in at this point, still with 2 rounds left to go. Wheel spin once again. See, not much fall off with these cool track temperatures that we're dealing with. Alexander Spets is down to just 85 seconds of his push to pass left. He's burned through almost half of it. To be fair, we're almost halfway through. Variables as they go down through the gears. Thompson lost a bit more time on that last lap being passed. Your leader is only seeing about half a second of fall off. And Peter Berryman was only 3/10 off his fastest lap of the race last time by. I wonder if Berryman has just not bound the push to pass button for this race. Because I'm quite bemused, perplexed as well, that 11 laps complete, you wouldn't have used the push to pass even once yet. After being passed by Alexander Spets, now looking in the rear view mirrors is Thompson once again. This time, it's Alessandro Bico. He's 5th in the points as it stands. Definitely should consider himself good to be a part of next year's championship. Still, as he sits in the wheel tracks, he's been relatively aggressive with his push to pass, but not quite as conservative as Thompson has been. Wiggle there out of the rear end. Only 2 of the Williams Sim Racing drivers competed in last year's championship. That was Jaden Munoz and Sota Muto. Jaden Munoz is already qualified back in as the championship leader, many would argue. Sota Muto is 4th in points, so he's probably feeling good too. Pablo Espez is a Williams Sim Racing Academy driver, I believe. He's down in 14th in the race, 7th in points. So he'll likely join Bico and his teammates in next year's championship. Belitsiotis is the first driver really on the wrong side of that confirmation line right now. But this good result probably puts him in the mix too. Next time by, we'll reach half race distance. Pablo Espez and Matt Emery swap positions for 13th. And Emery starting to struggle a little bit with the balance, it would seem. His last lap was a good 4/10 off of Mateo Kuzner, just up the road in 12th position. Look at that gap already built up in front. So the championship itself kicks off January 8th, coverage on the iRacing Esports Network channels. It kicks off on the streets of Long Beach. From there, over to Portland, and then a trip to Indianapolis for the first of the oval rounds of the season. Magello, Phoenix, Nashville, and then Road America and a trip here to the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. That will finish off the season. Mitchell Welker digs his Firestone tires into the gravel for a moment. Just holds on. Tucked up behind Welker is Tamas Shimon, the Hungarian, flying the flag for Seca Esports. Welker tries the long way around. Jordan Johnson holds firm, and Tamas Shimon has his chance to get through at turn 3. Beautifully judged. The danger of sometimes going on the offense, leaving you vulnerable to moves from those behind. So now, 14 laps left to go. Mitch Welker, by the way, who's recently joined up with MadWorks Motorsports for the remainder of the season. In points, Welker was at 22nd, so coming into the race, if we were to have ended before this race was run, Welker would have been the first driver on the reserve list. So you know he wants to fight. Goebbels off that engine as Caruana down to second gear. Not really making much inroads at this point on those in front. Top 10 starting to pull away from these drivers as they roll themselves in a bit of a fight. Peter Berryman, by the way, has finally found that push-to-pass button in the cockpit. Gap at the front of the field is now down to about 2.5 seconds. See how consistent he has been as well. That's really, I think, the important thing. Within 0.2 of a second of his fastest lap. There is Sotomuto, Japanese driver who has been racing in Ferrari Challenge over in Asia this year. Got his chance to head out to the, I believe they call it the finals at Mugello. Must have been a very cool experience. A celebration of not just Ferrari, but Ferrari racing as well. The number 1 seed means that he has the most I rating in the field. Although having looked through the I ratings, 10,579 for Sotomuto. It's not too much higher than the second seeded driver with 10,446. We are talking about the creme de la creme of iRacing. Has been a rather tedious race, if we're being completely honest, though. It's almost as though the drivers are stuck in drafting and dirty air range of one another, not close enough to quite take advantage of the slipstream because there's enough dirty air at the same time. There are some sends further behind. Nicholas Matteo slips past Alessandro Bico, who's straight back on the offense. Nicholas Matteo's got 25 seconds left to push to pass to defend. 11 laps left to go. Bico behind has got 83 seconds left, to almost 4 times as much. Half look to the inside, but sweeps the speed through to the Drago Racing number 4. He is going to be very, very vulnerable as we dive deeper into the proceedings. But definitely no one replicating the memories of 1996 and Alex Zanardi's historic move on Brian Herder to take the victory. We've seen some similar moments. Romain Grosjean attempted it a few times. Pablo Espez, that's what we were trying to show you on the bottom of your screen. He's back in pit lane now. Probably for the best that he's good on points, it would seem. Oh, a wiggle, slightly overcorrected and hard into the tires on the right side of turn number 6. Sotomuto is really starting to look at finding a move on Dan Amor. Amor has tickled the push to pass once in this race. He's got 149 seconds left to play with. It's a good sign from his perspective. It really is an interesting track, though. When you have the opportunity to drive or even just walk around it, be it on the track itself or as a spectator, get a real sense for the elevation. Or up through turn number 6, Rafael Leon has to watch as Esteban Rodriguez holds on. Oh, and contact down through the corkscrew. Jordan Johnson, the one that gets turned around. Rafael Leon tangled up as well, and there's some afters, argy-bargy. They're stuck inside of one another, to be fair. And Mitchell Welker's off to pit lane. He's got a black flag from all of this. are these the chances of Welker's Pro Series going up in smoke? One more look at it here. So it's a big send from Leon. He locks the car up and slides down into the entry. And then as Jordan Johnson reverses back, drives straight into Leon, there's no other way to describe it. That's an optimistic move, definitely not channeling any sort of Alex Zanardi vibes. That might be Jordan Johnson done for the qualifying series as well. 30th in the points, headed into the night. And that is very interesting. Nicholas Matteo pulls straight off the track. Lets one through, doesn't let the rest through, so he's still got Vasilius Belitsiotis and Mateo Kuzner behind. But going back to what I was saying before all the drama, this again is such a elevation influenced track. Even just down in through turn one, over that crest, open up the entry. Up here through turn 6, continue that climb. And then it's very, very blind to spot your references here. Trust that car as it compresses. There's a bump that you feel as well if you get the line right. Down through Rainy and into the penultimate corner. Just a breathe of the throttle there for Belitsiotis. Gap at the front of the field is starting to come down, but it's seeming like potentially too little too late. Having said that, Vinny Berryman just cracks the 2-second gap to the leader for the first time since the start of the race. Two drivers battling who surely feel comfortable in their chances already for next year's Pro Series. Just fighting effectively here. A bit of bragging rights, a bit of consolidation, if you will. These are the drivers really still fighting. Mateo Kuzner is 21st. He is on the cut line. He is the driver on the bubble. 2 more good weekends. That's all he's looking for here at Laguna Seca, and then in a few weeks' time at the Iowa Speedway. In front of Kuzner, Belitsiotis and Matteo. Matteo really dropping off from Pico. He has just 14 seconds of push to pass left to use. That is 2 seconds a lap. And he burns through 4 of them already. Make that 5, 6, 7. Half the push to pass in one fell swoop. And it still won't be enough. Belitsiotis up the inside. The Greek driver gives the squeeze. Matteo on the fight back, up the inside at turn 3. And this is desperate defending, but it's exactly what he needs. Look at him, one way then the other, defending like a lion, and Kuzner's been patient. Has that patience worn thin? Not the best slingshot up the hill. And then missing the apex at turn 6. Does Belitsiotis try it here? Things better. For the best, I think it's fair to say. Ricardo Rico has kept still 22 seconds of push to pass left in reserve. 5 laps left to go. He leads by 1.8 seconds. Fight for 4th is still on. Dan Amor has still got push to pass left to defend with. Matteo, Belitsiotis, Kuzner, they're continuing to squabble though. Another half look, snatch of the left front tire. Williams Sim Racing driver increasingly showing his frustration with the body language of the car. It's stacking up anyone else? Caruana, Emery, Bernstorff, Rodriguez, they are starting to close. 4 laps to go next time by, into short time here. Big commitment from Belliciotis, but slows down. Digs the right sides into the gravel as he heads up the hill. Lead is slowly shrinking, but maybe too little too late. I think Ricardo Rico has done enough to hold on. Drago Racing have brought a quick machine underneath them. And that's what Nicholas Matteo still has to defend with. 5 seconds of push to pass though. Behind him, Belliciotis has got 58 seconds. The driver used it though. Down the main straight this time by. It's almost as though they're waiting for the other to blink. Exit from turn 3. Great spot on the left here for spectators to watch the drivers. Up here to turn 5. And then the climb, the ascent begins once more. Now Will Weiser joins Mitch Welker in having a, looks to be a drive-through penalty. So track limit violation likely piling up alongside of 1 or 2 bits of contact. Although Will Weiser actually is now sitting in pit lane, so we'll not likely see the checkered flag with just 3 laps left to go. It's 1.8 seconds still at the front. Rico doing just enough. His teammate Matteo doing just enough as well, but here comes that push to pass finally. Belliciotis blinks to the outside. Shuffle down through the Andretti hairpin. He tried to chop back underneath, but had to be careful as Matteo Kuzner was sat there ready to fill the gap on the apex. Once again, that push to pass active. Matteo just covering proactively here. Parks it. Avoids allowing Belliciotis to get the drive up into the corner. He's going to have to bait here, Belliciotis. He can't afford to keep burning his push to pass. He's down to 36 seconds remaining. Nicholas Matteo has only burned 3 seconds of that 7 in the last lap and a bit. But it would seem by the time we see that white flag, he might be out of push to pass. Back out of the final corner with 2 laps left to go. Time winding down. Irresistible force meets the immovable object. You could see the intention from Belliciotis, wanted to try and jink back underneath. But Nicholas Matteo is defending, bringing all the might of the Drago Racing contingent with him as well. At this point, Belliciotis must be wondering, well, how do I get a decent run? How do I use the push to pass at my advantage? And credit to Matteo Kuzner, he has not forced the issue and made it 3 wide when he very arguably has been in a position to do so. Lead is still strong, 1.3 seconds as traffic potentially could hold up Ricardo Rico, but white flag is in hand. We are on the final trip around this wonderful WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Your leader has no push to pass, but neither does Peter Berryman, to be fair. And so it's all eyes still locked on that fight for 9th position. Dan Amor still holding off Sota Muto as well. Looks like Matteo has just covered off Belliciotis into turn 1 for the penultimate time. Zero push to pass left for Matteo. 21 seconds for the Williams Sim Racing machine tucked in behind. And slipstream to use as well. To the inside of turn 5. Did he show his hand too early? A couple of car lengths between them as they scramble up to turn 6 one final time. Nicholas Matteo is going to have to watch the sends. There's still a couple of heavy braking zones. Not the corkscrew, though. He fends it off for the time being. All of this down through Rainy Curve as Rico wins on the Monterey Peninsula. Just one round left to go in the iRacing Indy NXT Thrustmaster qualifying series. And what a defensive showing from Nicholas Matteo. He'll hold on to ninth. Velatiotis, Kuzner, Caruana. A drag race all the way to the checkered. But 5-6 laps at the very end in which Nicholas Matteo was made to sweat. It was his teammate Ricardo Rico that showed the way at the front of the field. Berryman second, Munoz in third. A whole handful of drivers surely locking themselves in to next year's INDYCAR Thrustmaster iRacing Pro Series. Bit of contact after the flag there, unintentional it would seem. And between a couple of drivers. And now just Mitch Welker across the line for the results to be official. Wow, I mean, you've got to give credit to Rico breaking away in the early stages and for getting the job done in qualifying. But Berryman closes the gap in the closing stages, 1.3 between the two. Points leader Jaden Munoz is surely now headed back to the INDYCAR Pro Series, while Dan Amor, Sotomuto and Alexander Spets, alongside of Josh Thompson, and maybe Alessandro Pico, Nicholas Matteo, and Vasilios Velatiotis will all be able to claim the same. 11th Matteo Kuzner, he will be right on the bubble heading into the final round of the championship with Matt Caruana, Matt Emery, Emil Bernstorff, Esteban Rodriguez, Aidan Young, Manuel Kubo Torres, and then Tamas Shimon, Adam Blocker, and Nico Rudbicki, your top 20. Nathan Moore, Rashad Craig, Mitch Welker, all on the lead lap, unfortunately for Rafael Leone and for George Griffith. They drop one lap down, while for Will Weiser, Jordan Johnson, Pablo Espez, and Alexander van der Sant, different levels of distress, I think it is fair to say. And for Alexander van der Sant, this is disastrous in his potential hopes of making his way forward. Well, that was a great race. As much as it maybe took a while to heat up in the early stages, it definitely picked up in intensity. One more look at the schedule as we hopefully try to get a bit of a chat with some of our race protagonists. One more race after the Thanksgiving break as we make our way over to the Iowa Speedway for some short oval racing. 90 laps will fly on past and we will lock in our top 21. That should be locked in for next year's INDYCAR Pro Series. The rest of the drivers behind will provisionally still be on the alternate/reserve list, but we'll wait and see. Let's grab a chat with Jaden Munoz, the points leader, who at this point is surely at this stage somewhat comfortably confirming himself as returning back to the ranks of the INDYCAR iRacing Pro Series. Jaden, a somewhat comfortable day from you in third, qualified there, finished there, but you must be pretty happy with how this qualifying series has gone overall.
Yeah, for sure. It's honestly a little bit of a surprise that, but yeah, I mean, yeah, we did good all the races, so yeah, I'm happy to be the points leader, and yeah, I'm looking forward to the INDYCAR Pro Series.
We just had two Williams Sim Racing teammates last year in the Pro Series, you and Sotomuto, but looks like we'll have a few more based on how results have gone. Vasilios, Alessandro, and even a few more. What's that mean for you as a team? How are you going to be able to work together, maybe specifically on the ovals, which isn't where your strength necessarily was initially, to bring the fight when we go racing on January the 8th?
Yeah, I think last year that was our biggest difficulty, where like it was just me and Soda. So like if you think about it, like compared to us, it's like maybe it's like 10 to 20 hours per week. But like if you have the other teams like Redline, Coanda, and then they have like 5-7 drivers, that's at least almost upwards to like 100 hours a week. So it's like an 80 hours disadvantage every week. So having more drivers for the Pro Series next year is for sure going to help us and for sure we'll try to get better on the ovals as well.
Well, Jaden, you've shown some great speed in the qualifying series, including on the ovals. Best of luck. Not sure we'll see you at Iowa, but we'll see you January 8th when the Pro Series kicks off.
Thank you. See ya.
Jaden Munoz, our championship points leader. Let's catch up with second then, and Peter Berryman, who eventually found the push-to-pass button, but maybe just a little bit too late, Peter. Talk us through that race as you tried to chase down Rico at the front of the field.
Yeah, it was a pretty fun race. I mean, I've enough experience around this circuit now with single-seaters to know that realistically, passing people on track it's really, really tricky, especially when it's the leader and he has clean air. So I tried to implement the strategy of really taking care of my tires at the beginning and hoping that it would come good at the end. And yeah, obviously the push-to-pass is a pretty strong tool as well. So I tried to save it up with the tires and make a run for it to the end. I sort of got to roughly into the slipstream, but I don't think there really was much I could have done there to overturn Ricardo outside of him making a mistake. So just tried to put some pressure on, see what happened. But for the most part, I was pretty happy to take it to.
I mean, Peter, you're one of the drivers as well that I think could be considered one of the stronger all-round drivers. Plenty of experience in the iRacing Indy 500, so you bring that oval experience alongside all that road course knowledge. And if not for missing those final 2 rounds of last year, you might have been able to stay in the top 12. What's your hope for the start of the season on January 8th now that you sit in a very comfortable points position?
Yeah, I mean, I'm feeling pretty optimistic about my chances. Like you said, I had a really bad illness towards the end of last year's championship, missed 2 rounds. Looking at what my teammates did, I could have got somewhere maybe close to the top 5. But it's sort of if buts and maybes. So yeah, I'm definitely optimistic. Like you say, I've starting to build up my oval experience, which, as you could see with a few of the guys last year, that really was quite a difference compared to a lot of the teams out there picking up points on the ovals. So I know that on my day, if I get the car underneath me, I can pull out the results. So yeah, definitely looking forward to trying to see what I can do.
Well, congrats on another great run, Peter. I'm not sure if we'll see you at Iowa, but we'll see you January 8th when the Pro Series kicks back off.
I'll be there at Iowa, don't you worry. See you guys then.
Can't keep Peter out of the race car, it would seem. Let's catch up with our race winner as well, Ricardo Rico. Ricardo, seems as though 1 round early, you have locked yourself back into next year's Pro Series. How are you feeling after a great drive here at Laguna Seca?
Hey, Arjuna, how are you doing? I'm feeling great. I was a bit tense, I made a mistake in Portland. I was a bit tight with the points because in the oval I don't get a lot, So yeah, I'm feeling super good. It was a great race. We had a great car. I don't know. I don't know. It goes over there, yeah.
Well, let's talk about that oval experience just a little bit, because obviously now you and your teammates are in a good spot. But while we know just how quick you guys are on the road courses, ovals is a bit more of an unknown. How much experience have you guys learned through this qualifying series? How much do you think you still need to learn for the Pro Series starting next January?
We always have to learn more. The car will be different than in the series. I think last year we already learned a couple things. There is a complete different whole world in the setup of the ovals, right? And then in the racing, it's different racing, different approach. But I think with the group we can train a lot. We can improve a lot our driving. It will be just on the setup. If we can be smart enough or we can work enough to make those cars as fast as the top teams, who for sure will be over there, the oval ones with Robert and Philip and the rest, Even other road top teams are working with some oval guys. So yeah, it's gonna be for sure super competitive, but we expect to be there. We expect no less than that.
Well, that's what everyone is planning for. That's what all the hard work is for. Ricardo, congrats on a great victory. And we'll see you in January when things kick off for the Pro Series.
Thank you guys. Have a good night and see you later.
He says good night, literally good night, because all our European drivers are going to head straight off to bed at early o'clock in the morning that it is for them. But for our team here at RaceSpot, just one more round of this Indy NXT qualifying series presented by Thrustmaster, a flag-to-flag victory for Ricardo Rico, as a whole handful of drivers have locked themselves in surely to the Pro Series kicking off on January the 8th. But one more blast in 2 weeks' time for us to go racing around the banked Iowa Speedway. Hugo Luis, Arjuna Kankipati signing off from the West Coast. We'll see you next time to close out this qualifying series.